The research ship New Horizon moved slowly through the dark space near the edge of known territory. Captain Jake Harrison stood on the bridge watching the stars through the main window. His crew had been exploring this area for 3 months looking for new planets and signs of alien life. "Captain, we're getting a strange signal," said Dr. Lisa Martinez from her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien technology and languages. Her fingers moved quickly across her computer screen. "It's coming from that asteroid field ahead of us." Jake walked over to look at her screen. "What kind of signal?" "It's old. Really old. And it's broadcasting in multiple languages. Some I recognize, some I don't." Lisa frowned as she worked. "The computer is trying to translate it now." Commander Rick Torres, the ship's security chief, came onto the bridge. He was a big man with worried eyes. "Captain, my sensors are showing some unusual energy readings from that asteroid field. Something doesn't feel right." Jake nodded. "Take us closer, but keep the shields up." "Lisa, what does that message say?" Lisa's face went pale as the translation appeared on her screen. "Captain, this is a warning. It says something about the persistence of humanity, something about how we never stop hunting once we start." "That doesn't make sense," Jake said. "We've never been in this part of space before. How could there be a warning about humans here?" Before Lisa could answer, the ship's alarm started screaming. Rick rushed to his station. "Captain, 5 large ships just appeared behind us. They're not human designs." On the main screen, 5 dark ships appeared. They were twice the size of the New Horizon and covered in strange armor. Red lights blinked along their sides like angry eyes. "Are they trying to communicate?" Jake asked. "No, sir," Rick replied. "They're charging weapons." The alien ships opened fire without warning. Bright energy beams hit the New Horizon's shields. The ship shook hard, and sparks flew from damaged control panels. Shields down to 60%. Rick shouted over the noise, "Return fire!" Jake ordered. The New Horizon shot back, but their weapons barely scratched the alien ships. Another wave of enemy fire hit them, and this time the shields failed completely. "Hull breach on Deck 3, someone yelled. "We're losing life support in sections 4 and 5. Jake grabbed the communication device. "All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for boarding action. This is not a drill." The alien ships moved closer. Jake could see smaller ships leaving them, heading straight for the New Horizon. Through the bridge windows, he saw the boarding ships attached to his vessel's hull. "They're cutting through the outer doors," Rick said, checking his security monitors. "I count at least 50 aliens. They're big, and they're armed with energy weapons." The sounds of fighting came through the ship's communication system. Jake heard his crew members screaming and the buzz of alien weapons. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "I finished translating more of that message. It was left by a species called the Zinthari. They fought humans a long time ago, somewhere else in the galaxy." "What does it say?" "It says that humans are different from other species. When humans fight, they don't just try to win. They never stop. They hunt their enemies across space and time until there's nothing left." The bridge doors exploded inward. 6 tall alien creatures came through the smoke. They looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Their skin was dark green and they had 4 arms each. Their eyes were yellow and cold. The leader spoke in broken human language. "I am Commander Zaltek of the Kethvara Empire. Your ship belongs to us now. Your people will serve as slaves." Jake stood straight even though he knew they were beaten. "I'm Captain Jake Harrison. These are my people. We came here in peace." Zaltek made a sound that might have been laughing. "Peace is for the weak. Humans are weak. Your planet will fall easily when our fleet arrives." "You don't know humans very well," Jake said quietly. "We know enough. You have small ships and weak weapons. Your people will break quickly when we attack your worlds." Rick tried to reach for his weapon, but 2 aliens grabbed him. They put electronic chains on his arms and legs. Other aliens were doing the same to Lisa and the other bridge crew. "Take them to the holding ships," Zaltek ordered. "Leave a few alive to tell us about human defenses. Kill the rest." As the aliens pushed him toward the door, Jake looked back at Lisa. She was holding a small data device behind her back. She had copied the Zinthari message. "Commander," Jake said to Zaltek, "you're making a big mistake." "What mistake?" "Your ship is destroyed. Your crew is captured. Your species will soon be slaves. The mistake is thinking this ends here." Jake's voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. "You've just started something you can't stop." Zaltek hit Jake with the back of his hand, sending him to the floor. "Humans talk too much. Take him away." As the aliens dragged Jake off the bridge, he saw Lisa drop the data device behind a broken control panel. She caught his eye and nodded slightly. At least someone might find the warning message. The aliens loaded most of the surviving crew onto their ships. Jake found himself in a small metal cell with Lisa, Rick, and 5 other crew members. Through a small window, he watched the new horizon explode in a ball of fire. "So what now, Captain?" Rick asked. "We're prisoners of a hostile alien empire that wants to enslave humanity." Jake looked at his remaining crew. They were scared, hurt, and far from home, but they were still alive and they were still human. "Now we do what the Zenthari message said humans do," Jake replied. "We survive, we learn, and we make sure these aliens understand what persistence really means." Lisa spoke up quietly. "I managed to send a message to Earth before they captured us. It included the Zenthari warning and everything we learned about the Kethvara ships." "Good," Jake said, "because this isn't over. Not by a long shot." Outside their cell window, the alien fleet turned toward human space. Zalthek was already planning his easy victory over the weak human species. He had no idea that he had just made humanity's greatest enemy. The Zenthari had tried to warn him, but like all predators, he thought he was the strongest thing in the galaxy. Soon he would learn what it meant to be hunted by humans. 6 months had passed since the attack on the New Horizon. Captain Jake Harrison crouched behind a rock formation on the planet, where their escape pod had crashed. The planet was hot and dry with red sand everywhere and 2 suns in the sky. It should have killed them, but humans were good at surviving in bad places. "The Kethvara supply ship will pass over the North Valley in 2 hours, whispered Lisa Martinez. She was watching the alien ship through a device they had built from crashed alien technology. "Same route as always." Jake nodded and looked at his small team. Only 8 people had survived the crash landing, but they had learned to work together like a pack of wolves. Rick Torres was checking their weapons, alien energy guns they had taken from dead Kethvara soldiers. The others were preparing the explosive devices they had made from ship parts. "Remember," Jake said quietly, "we hit fast and disappear. Take what we can use, destroy what we can't, leave them a message." They had been doing this for months now. Every time a Kethvara ship came near their planet, Jake's team would attack it. They never tried to capture the ships. They weren't strong enough for that. Instead, they took supplies and weapons, then made sure the aliens knew humans had been there. Lisa had spent weeks learning to read Kethvara writing. She had decoded many of their messages, and the news was bad. The aliens had attacked 12 human colonies. Earth's space fleet was fighting back, but the Kethvara had better ships and more experience with war. But Lisa had also found something else in the alien messages. The Kethvara were starting to worry. They kept getting reports about human ships that wouldn't give up, even when they were beaten. Human crews that fought until their ships exploded rather than surrender. And they were very worried about Jake's team. "The aliens call us the Ghost Hunters," Lisa had told Jake the night before. "They've sent 3 different groups to find us, but we killed them all. They're starting to be afraid of this planet." Jake liked that. Fear was a weapon, and humans were very good at using it. The Kethvara supply ship appeared right on time. It was a big, slow vessel carrying food and weapons to alien bases in nearby star systems. Jake and his team waited until it was directly overhead, then fired their stolen weapons at its engines. The ship crashed in the valley with a loud explosion. Jake's team moved in quickly, wearing breathing masks they had made from alien equipment. Most of the crew was dead, but 3 aliens were still alive. Jake walked up to the ship's captain, a large Kethvara with scars on his green skin. The alien was trying to send a distress signal. "Don't bother," Jake said in the Kethvara language that Lisa had taught him. "No one's coming to help you." The alien captain looked surprised that a human could speak his language. "You are the Ghost Hunters." "I thought you were just stories. We're very real." Jake knelt down next to the injured alien. "And we have a message for your empire." "What message?" Jake pulled out a small metal plate with words carved into it in the Kethvara language. Lisa had made many of these plates. "It says you wanted to hunt humans. Now you are the prey." The alien captain's yellow eyes went wide. "You cannot fight the entire Kethvara empire with 8 people." "We're not trying to fight your empire," Jake replied. "We're teaching it a lesson. Every ship you send here dies. Every base you build gets destroyed. Every soldier you send after us disappears. And word gets back to your people that humans don't give up." Rick and the others were loading supplies from the crashed ship into their vehicles. They had learned to move fast. Other Kethvara ships would come looking for the missing supply vessel. "You are just delaying the inevitable," the alien captain said. "Our fleets will destroy Earth. Your species will be extinct within one cycle." Jake stood up and looked down at the alien. "That's where you're wrong. See, you think this is about winning or losing a war. But for humans, this isn't a war. This is just the beginning of a very long hunt." He placed the metal message plate on the alien's chest. "Tell your friends, humans remember everything. We remember every ship you destroyed, every person you killed, every world you attacked. And we will come for you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but we will find you." The alien captain tried to speak, but Jake was already walking away. His team was ready to leave. In the distance, they could see 3 Kethvara rescue ships approaching. Back at their hidden base in the mountains, Jake's team reviewed what they had learned from the captured supplies. Lisa was studying Kethvara star maps while Rick was testing their new weapons. "The aliens have a big base on the 4th planet in this system," Lisa reported. "Maybe 200 soldiers and 10 ships. Too big for us to attack directly," Rick said. "We don't need to attack it," Jake replied. "We just need to make them afraid to leave it." Over the next few weeks, Jake's team set traps around every space route leading to the Kethvara base. They used gravity mines, explosive devices, and weapons platforms built from scavenged alien technology. Any ship that tried to leave the base would have to fight its way through a maze of hidden dangers. The results were exactly what Jake wanted. The Kethvara base sent out 3 patrol ships. None of them came back. They sent out a rescue mission to find the patrol ships. It also disappeared. Finally, they sent their entire remaining fleet to hunt down the humans. Jake's team watched from their mountain hideout as 12 Kethvara warships combed the planet below, looking for 8 humans. The aliens used powerful sensors, drop troops, and robot hunters. They found nothing. 12 warships, Rick said with a grin, to hunt 8 people. "I think we're making an impression." "It's not about the numbers," Jake replied. "It's about the principle. Every ship they send here is a ship that's not attacking human colonies. Every soldier hunting us is a soldier not invading Earth." Lisa was listening to Kethvara radio messages. "The base commander is requesting more troops. He says this planet has become too dangerous for normal operations." Jake nodded. That was exactly what he wanted to hear. Fear was spreading through the Kethvara Empire, one ship at a time. That night, Jake looked up at the stars and thought about Earth. Somewhere out there, the real war was happening. Admiral Kate Sullivan and the Earth fleet were fighting the main Kethvara forces. Jake's team was just 8 people on a forgotten planet, but they were doing their part. They were showing the galaxy what the Zinthari warning had tried to explain. Humans don't just fight wars. They become the war. They turn every battle into a hunt that never ends. And the hunt was just beginning. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the battleship Defiance, watching the tactical display with cold eyes. The Kethvara fleet had just retreated from the Titan colony after losing 6 ships. It was their 3rd retreat in 2 weeks, and Kate could see the confusion in their attack patterns. "Admiral, we're receiving a message from General Alex Murphy on Mars base," reported Communications Officer Ben Clark. "Put him through." General Murphy's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but satisfied. "Kate, I wanted to update you on the new tactics. The asteroid field strategy worked perfectly. We turned the entire Ceres belt into a weapons system." Kate nodded. 3 months ago, they had been losing the war. The Kethvara had better ships, better weapons, and more experience. But humans had something the aliens didn't understand: the ability to think differently about everything. "How many enemy ships did we take out?" Kate asked. 14. But more importantly, we made the rest of their fleet afraid to travel through any asteroid field in human space. They're having to take much longer routes to reach their targets. That was the key to their new strategy. Instead of fighting the aliens ship to ship, humans had turned space itself into a weapon. They mined asteroid fields, turned abandoned space stations into traps, and used damaged human ships as guided missiles. "Any word from Jake Harrison's team?" Kate asked. Murphy's expression grew serious. "Still active. Intelligence reports that the Kethvara have committed an entire battle group to hunting 8 people on one planet. That's 24 warships that aren't attacking our colonies." Kate smiled grimly. She had known Jake since their academy days. If anyone could survive behind enemy lines and cause trouble, it was him. Dr. Lisa Martinez had been busy on the crashed planet. She had finally cracked the Kethvara computer systems and gained access to their military networks. What she found changed everything. "Jake, you need to see this," she called from her makeshift laboratory in their mountain base. Jake came over to look at the alien computer screen. Lisa had learned to read Kethvara text fluently, and she had been translating their military messages for weeks. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. "Kethvara fleet movements for the past month. Look at this pattern." Lisa pointed to a star map showing red dots for alien ships. 3 weeks ago, their fleets were moving in straight lines toward human colonies. Fast, direct attacks. And now look. Lisa changed the display to show recent movements. The red dots were moving in complex, winding paths that avoided asteroid fields, abandoned stations, and any area where humans had set traps. "They're afraid," Jake realized. "More than afraid. They're changing their entire way of fighting because of what we've been doing to them. Not just us, all human forces. We've made them paranoid." Lisa pulled up another screen showing Kethvara internal communications. "Listen to this message from their high command. Human forces do not follow standard military doctrine. They turn civilian areas into battlefields, use damaged ships as weapons, and refuse to surrender even when defeat is certain. All commanders are advised to expect unconventional tactics." Jake laughed. "They think we're cheating because we don't fight the way they expect." "There's more." Lisa showed him a longer message. "This is from a Kethvara commander who fought at the Luna battle. He says, human ships continued attacking even after their life support failed. Crew members were found dead at their weapon stations, still firing. This species does not understand the concept of acceptable losses. Rick Torres came into the lab carrying a captured Kethvara weapon. I just monitored another alien patrol. They're talking about the human curse now. What's that supposed to mean?" Jake asked. "They think humans have some kind of supernatural power that makes us impossible to kill completely. Every time they wipe out a human base or ship, survivors show up somewhere else and start causing trouble." Jake looked at his team. In 6 months, they had grown from crashed survivors into something that scared an entire alien empire. They had learned to build weapons from scraps, to move unseen across hostile territory, and to strike at their enemies in ways the aliens couldn't predict or stop. But more importantly, they had learned that they weren't alone. All across human space, other people were doing the same thing, turning every defeat into a lesson, every loss into motivation for the next attack. "Lisa, can you access their fleet deployment records?" Jake asked. "Already did. Want to know something interesting? 6 months ago, the Kethvara had 800 ships attacking human colonies. Today they have 600 ships attacking human colonies. What happened to the other 200? They're hunting humans. Small groups like us. Damaged human ships that won't surrender. Refugee fleets that keep fighting even after their colonies were destroyed. The Kethvara have had to dedicate a quarter of their fleet to chasing down humans who refuse to die quietly." Jake walked to the window of their mountain base and looked out at the alien ships still searching for them. 24 warships had been circling their planet for weeks, trying to find 8 humans. The aliens were using advanced sensors, drop troops, and robot hunters, but they found nothing. "You know what the real problem is for them?" Jake said finally. "What's that?" Rick asked. "They think like an empire. They have territories to control, supply lines to protect, and populations to govern. But we don't have any of that anymore." Lisa looked up from her computer. "What do you mean?" "We're not trying to hold territory or protect anything. We're just hunting them, and you can't fight a hunt with an army." That night, Jake's team received a coded message from Earth. Admiral Sullivan was planning a major offensive against the Kethvara home systems, and she wanted all human forces to coordinate their attacks. "She wants us to hit every Kethvara base in this sector at the same time," Lisa reported after decoding the message. "Can we do that?" Rick asked. Jake looked at the star map showing all the alien bases within their reach. There were 12 of them, spread across 4 star systems. His team of 8 people couldn't attack 12 bases, but they didn't need to attack them. They just needed to make the aliens think they were under attack. "Lisa, how good are you at making fake distress signals?" She grinned. "How many do you want?" Over the next week, Jake's team used captured Kethvara communications equipment to flood the alien networks with false reports. Bases under attack, supply convoys destroyed, commanders requesting immediate reinforcements. All of it fake, but all of it believable. The result was chaos. Kethvara fleets rushed from one false emergency to another, leaving their real targets undefended. When Admiral Sullivan's offensive began, she found alien positions that were either empty or defended by confused, demoralized troops. The tide of the war was turning, and it wasn't because humans had better ships or weapons. It was because they had learned to fight like humans instead of trying to fight like aliens. The Kethvara Empire was discovering what the Zenthari had tried to warn them about. Humans don't just win wars. They become something that their enemies can't escape from, and the hunt was getting stronger every day. 1 year after the first attack, Captain Sam Rogers piloted his ship Hunter through the debris field that used to be a Kethvara military base. His crew was scanning for survivors, but they both hoped they wouldn't find any and knew they probably would. "Captain, I'm reading 3 life signs in the wreckage of their command ship," reported Navigator Kelly Brown. "Are they armed?" "Negative, sir. They appear to be badly injured." Sam sighed. He knew what he had to do, but he didn't like it. "Take us alongside. We'll bring them aboard." The Hunter was one of 30 new ships built specifically for long-range pursuit operations. They were fast, lightly armed, and designed to track fleeing enemy vessels across multiple star systems. Sam's crew had been chasing the same group of Kethvara ships for 3 months. "Sir, why are we taking prisoners?" asked Security Chief Tony Reed. "They wouldn't do the same for us." "Because we're still human," Sam replied. "The moment we stop acting like humans, we become just another alien empire." But even as he said it, Sam knew the line was getting harder to see. The war had changed everyone. Earth's government, led by President Maria Santos, had declared that the Kethvara Empire must be completely destroyed. Not defeated, destroyed. Every military base, every warship, every soldier who had participated in the attack on humanity. The Kethvara prisoners were brought aboard the Hunter and taken to the medical bay. Sam went to interview them, bringing Lisa Martinez's translation software with him. She had developed it during her time on the crashed planet, and now every human ship carried a copy. The senior Kethvara officer was a female named Veltar. She had burns across half her body and one arm was missing, but her yellow eyes still showed defiance. "I am Commander Veltar of the Kethvara Third Fleet," she said in broken human language. "I demand to be treated according to the laws of war." Sam sat down across from her. "What laws of war?" "Your people started this by attacking civilian research ships and trying to enslave our colonies. That is how wars are fought. The strong take from the weak. Maybe that's how your people fight wars," Sam said quietly. "But you've discovered that humans fight differently." Veltar's expression showed confusion. "Your species makes no sense. You have won many battles, but you continue hunting our fleets even after they retreat. Why do you not claim territory and consolidate your gains?" Sam looked at the alien commander for a long moment. How could he explain something that even humans were just beginning to understand about themselves? "Because we're not trying to win territory," he said finally. "We're making sure this never happens again." "What do you mean?" "Every Kethvara ship that attacked human colonies will be hunted down and destroyed. Every base that supported those attacks will be eliminated. Every officer who gave orders to harm humans will be found. It doesn't matter how long it takes or how far they run." Veltar's eyes went wide. "That is impossible. Our empire spans hundreds of star systems. You cannot hunt down every ship. Watch us." Meanwhile, on the planet where Jake Harrison's team had been stranded, the situation had changed dramatically. Their small group of 8 had grown into a resistance cell of over 200 humans. Some were escaped prisoners, others were survivors from destroyed colonies, and a few were Special Forces soldiers who had been inserted by Earth Command. Jake now commanded 3 captured Kethvara cruisers that his people had renamed Retribution, Vengeance, and Persistence. They had learned to operate alien technology better than many of the original crews. "Admiral Harrison," said Commander Nina Foster, his new second-in-command. The promotion had come through from Earth Command 3 months ago, along with orders to coordinate all resistance activities in this sector. "What's the report, Nina?" "The Kethvara High Command has issued new orders to all their fleets. Any ship that encounters human forces is ordered to retreat immediately and call for overwhelming reinforcements." Jake looked up from the tactical display he had been studying. "They're afraid to fight us ship to ship?" "It's worse than that. They've declared 12 star systems off limits to their own forces because human resistance groups are active there. They're basically giving us territory by abandoning it." Jake walked to the bridge window of the Retribution, and looked out at the alien shipyard they had just captured. His forces had taken it without losing a single person, mainly because the Kethavara garrison had surrendered immediately when they realized humans were attacking. "Have we heard anything from the diplomatic channels?" Jake asked. Nina nodded grimly. "The Kethavara Empire has tried to surrender 3 times in the past month. President Santos rejected all 3 offers. What were their terms? Complete withdrawal from human space, reparations for damaged colonies, and a promise never to attack humans again." Jake turned around to face her. "And why did Santos reject those terms?" "Because they don't include the total destruction of the Kethavara military. The president's position is that as long as the Empire exists, it remains a threat to humanity." Jake understood the logic, but it still bothered him. They had gone from being the victims of an unprovoked attack to being the aggressors in a war of extermination. But every time he thought about stopping, he remembered the New Horizon exploding, his crew being dragged away in chains, and Commander Zaltek's promise that humans would make good slaves. "Any word on Zaltek?" Jake asked, still running. "Our intelligence network has tracked him to the Outer Rim territories. Captain Rogers and the Hunter are closing in on his fleet." Jake smiled coldly. Zaltek had started this war by attacking a peaceful research ship. Now he was fleeing across the galaxy, hunted by the very species he had dismissed as weak. "Send a message to Rogers. Tell him that when he catches Zaltek, I want to be there for the final battle." "Yes, sir." The Kethavara Empire was learning what the ancient Zenthari warning had tried to tell them. Humans didn't just fight wars. They became something that their enemies couldn't escape from, couldn't negotiate with, and couldn't outlast. In the past year, human forces had destroyed over 400 Kethavara ships, captured 67 military bases, and eliminated 3 entire alien fleets. But more importantly, they had broken the Empire's will to fight. Kethavara commanders were deserting their posts. Entire fleets were surrendering without firing a shot. Some alien colonies were declaring independence from the Empire and requesting human protection. The galaxy was learning a new rule. If you attack humans, they don't just defend themselves. They hunt you. They pursue you across time and space until there's nothing left of you but a warning for the next species that thinks humans look weak. President Santos received daily reports about Kethavara peace offers, but her response was always the same. The war would end when every Kethavara military unit was destroyed or surrendered unconditionally. Not before. "Madam President," said General Murphy during one of their strategy meetings, "some of our allies are concerned that we're being too harsh. They think we should accept the Kethavara surrender offers." Santos looked at him with hard eyes. "General, how many human colonies did the Kethavara attack?" 47, Madam President. "How many human civilians did they kill or enslave?" "Approximately 2 million. "And how many times did they offer to negotiate during those attacks?" Murphy was quiet for a moment. 0, Madam President. "Then they'll get the same consideration from us. This war ends when we say it ends." The hunt continued, and with each passing day it became more clear that humanity had changed. They were no longer just another species trying to survive in a hostile galaxy. They had become something new, something that other species would either respect or fear, but never again underestimate. The Kethavara Empire was dying, and everyone in the galaxy was watching to see what would rise from its ashes. 5 years after the war began, Admiral Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of the Persistence and watched the last Kethavara military base surrender. The alien commander, a broken creature named Thekval, transmitted his unconditional surrender on all frequencies. "Admiral, that's the final holdout in this sector," reported Commander Nina Foster. "According to our records, there are no remaining organized Kethavara military units in the known galaxy." Jake nodded, but he felt no satisfaction. The Kethavara Empire was dead, its military destroyed, its colonies either independent or under human protection. But humanity had paid a price for this victory that went beyond ships and lives. "What's the status of Commander Rodriguez and the Persistence fleet?" Jake asked. "Still active, sir. She's currently tracking scattered Kethavara units in the Outer Rim. Her last report indicated she had eliminated another group of war criminals who were trying to establish a new base near the neutral zone. Commander, Elena Rodriguez had volunteered to lead the Persistence fleet 3 years ago. It was a collection of fast ships dedicated to hunting down every remaining Kethavara military unit, no matter how small or how far they ran. The fleet's motto was simple, until the last one. Jake understood the necessity, but it worried him. Rodriguez and her crews had been hunting aliens for years now. They lived on their ships, rarely returned to Earth, and had developed a cold efficiency that made even other humans uncomfortable. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command," said Communications Officer Paul Grant. "Put it through." President Santos appeared on the main screen. She looked older than she had 5 years ago, and her eyes had the same hard edge that Jake saw in his own mirror. "Jake, congratulations on finishing the Kethvara campaign. I have new orders for you." "What kind of orders, Madam President?" "Intelligence has detected a new threat. The Fourth Hegemony, a military alliance of 5 species in the Beta Quadrant. They've been monitoring our war with the Kethvara, and our analysts believe they're planning a preemptive strike against human space." Jake felt a familiar coldness settle in his chest. "What's their military strength?" "Larger than the Kethvara Empire was at its peak. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is that they've been studying our tactics for 5 years. They think they know how to fight humans, do they?" Santos smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "That's what we're going to find out. I'm giving you command of the new 7th Fleet. Your mission is to establish forward bases in Vorth territory and begin reconnaissance operations." Jake looked at his crew. They were all veterans now, hardened by years of warfare, but he could see the weariness in their faces. They had hoped the fighting was over. "Madam President, the Vorth Hegemony hasn't actually attacked us yet. Maybe we could try diplomatic contact first." "Jake, we tried diplomacy with the Kethvara. How did that work out?" He couldn't argue with that logic. The Kethvara had opened fire without warning, started a war of extermination, and refused every attempt at negotiation. But still, something bothered him about attacking a potential threat before it became an actual threat. "I understand your hesitation," Santos continued, "but the sanctuary protocols are now in effect. Any species that shows hostile intent toward humanity will be treated as an active threat. We can't afford to wait for them to strike first." The sanctuary protocols had been President Santos's response to the Kethvara War. Humanity would never again be caught unprepared. Any alien species that developed weapons capable of threatening human colonies, or that made aggressive moves toward human space, would be dealt with immediately and permanently. "When do we deploy?" Jake asked. "Immediately. Rodriguez will continue her current mission, but I want the main fleet ready for operations within the month." After Santos ended the transmission, Jake called a meeting of his senior officers. They gathered in the conference room of the Persistence, looking like what they had become, professional soldiers who had spent years learning to hunt and kill aliens. "You all heard the President's orders," Jake began. "The Fourth Hegemony is our next target. Intelligence suggests they have over 1,000 ships and are planning to attack human colonies." "Do we know that for certain?" asked Dr. Lisa Martinez, who now served as Jake's intelligence advisor. "Or is this based on speculation?" "Does it matter?" replied Commander Foster. "After what the Kethvara did to us, can we afford to take chances?" Jake looked around the table at faces he had known for years. These people had been with him since the beginning, had shared his struggle to survive on a hostile planet, had helped him build a resistance movement that eventually became a fleet. "I want everyone's honest opinion," Jake said. "Are we doing the right thing?" The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Lisa spoke up. 5 years ago, we were explorers and scientists. We went into space to make friends and discover new things. Now we're the most feared military force in the galaxy. And other species tell stories about human persistence the way we used to tell stories about monsters. "But we're alive," said Foster, "and humanity is safe. That has to count for something." "Is it safe, though?" asked Lisa. "Or have we just made ourselves into the thing that everyone else in the galaxy is afraid of?" Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the wreckage of the Kethvara base floating in space. 5 years of hunting had led to this. Total victory and the complete destruction of an enemy that had dared to attack humanity. "The Zenthari warning was right," he said finally. "Humans do become the war. We don't stop hunting until there's nothing left to hunt." "And that's a bad thing?" asked Foster. "I don't know anymore," Jake admitted. "All I know is that we can't go back. We can't pretend to be innocent explorers again. The galaxy has seen what we're capable of, and they're either going to respect us or try to destroy us before we get stronger." 2 weeks later, Jake's fleet departed for Vorth space. As they traveled through hyperspace, he received a message from Commander Rodriguez. She had found another group of Kethvara survivors trying to establish a hidden base in an asteroid field. Admiral, this is Rodriguez reporting. We've eliminated the last confirmed Kethvara military unit. All war criminals from the original invasion fleet have been accounted for. Acknowledged, Commander. Return to Earth for resupply and reassignment. Negative, sir. We've received intelligence about possible Kethvara sympathizers in the Rigel system. The Persistence fleet will investigate. Jake frowned. Rodriguez, the war is over. The Kethvara Empire is dead. With respect, Admiral, the war is over when every last alien who participated in the attack on humanity has been eliminated. The Persistence fleet will continue its mission. The transmission ended, leaving Jake staring at the blank screen. Rodriguez and her people had been hunting for so long that they couldn't stop. They had become something that even Jake found disturbing. Humans who existed only to kill aliens. But maybe that was what humanity needed now. Maybe the galaxy required the existence of people like Rodriguez. People who would never forgive and never stop hunting. Maybe that was the price of making sure no other species would ever again mistake human kindness for weakness. 3 months later, Jake's fleet arrived at the edge of Vorth space. Their first reconnaissance mission discovered something that changed everything. The Vorth hegemony had been building weapons specifically designed to fight humans. They had studied every battle of the Kethvara War and developed tactics to counter human persistence. Admiral, reported Captain Sam Rogers, who had joined Jake's fleet, they know we're coming. This isn't going to be like the Kethvara War. These aliens have learned from our enemy's mistakes. Jake looked at the tactical display showing Vorth fleet positions. They were ready for humanity's unconventional tactics. They had prepared for human persistence. They thought they understood what they were facing. They're right about one thing, Jake said quietly. This won't be like the Kethvara War. Why not, sir? Jake turned to face his crew, and they saw something in his eyes that hadn't been there during the fight against the Kethvara. A coldness that came from 5 years of hunting across the galaxy. From watching humanity transform from explorers into apex predators. Because we're not the same species that the Kethvara attacked 5 years ago. We've learned some things, too. He activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Harrison. The Vorth hegemony thinks they're ready for us. They've studied our tactics, built countermeasures, and prepared for a long war of attrition. Jake paused, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed friendly and full of wonder, but instead looked like a hunting ground where only the strongest survived. They're about to learn what the Xanthari tried to warn everyone about. When you attack humans, you don't just start a war. You become prey, and humans are very good at hunting. The fleet moved deeper into Vorth space, carrying with them the promise that had become humanity's reputation across the galaxy. Attack humans, and you'll never escape. They don't just win wars, they become inevitable. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the ancient Xanthari beacon continued broadcasting its warning to anyone wise enough to listen.